this is an important story that we've been tracking, especially with respect to post office savings schemes. You also flagged it this morning. It seems that Mahila Samman Savings Schemes has a lot of new takers. This was a scheme that was launched in the budget. Within the first 2 months, we're looking at massive savings coming in from women.
Yes, Shweta, good morning. And this is genuinely one of the bright spots that we can see in the papers this morning. It's very encouraging because, as you know, the current government, has been trying to empower the woman. From first the woman child, the female child in 2015 with the Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, which is already a hit, you know that. I see the current scheme, the Mahila Samman Certificate, as almost a thematic contribution of the same. You basically start looking at the female child and then the grown-up adult woman as a continuation. And the sort of response that this has got in the limited period of time, only 2 months, is extremely encouraging. And look at the average deposits. It's more than 73,000 per account. Now, that I think is extremely important. I am actually looking forward to another piece of data which I haven't found yet. That is the rural-urban divide in this in the response. If I can find that the response has been substantial in the rural segment, I'll be even more happy. And why me? I think everybody will be happy if the response in the rural segment among the rural women really, overtakes that of the urban women. Because this is, if you look at the matrix, 2 lakh rupees being the maximum that you can invest. I think the rural women are the primary target of this small savings scheme. And this, if it takes up in the rural category, I think that is the best response that the finance ministry can be looking for.
Okay. And what is also interesting is that there's not going to be any TDS on this scheme. So I think that has also come in as some sort of relief, not just for rural women, but also for urban women who are looking at, Mahila Samman Savings Certificate as an alternative to various other savings schemes out there.
Yeah, you are true, because the TDS dragnet is actually closing in on all of us. There is hardly any instrument that is out of the purview of the TDS. So yeah, that's definitely another bright spot that you mentioned. That triggers actually a lot of response from almost anybody out there.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's not just the Mahila Samman Savings Scheme, it's also the Senior Citizen Scheme that's got a boost now. We're looking at the upper limit for which is doubled now, as a result of which we're seeing more and more senior citizens also queuing up at post offices.
Yes, you are absolutely correct on that. And the doubling of that limit was really, it did the trick. The sudden surge, if you see the data, compared to the last 3 years, the sudden surge this year has been mainly due to the doubling of the ceiling. That's one. But I think, there is a small, I won't say glitch, but something that perhaps the government needs to address. Because see, most of these senior savings citizen schemes, if you are a bachelor or a spinster, if you don't have a spouse, then I know of people who have hesitated to put their money here simply because now look, they are all senior citizens by definition. And if they are no longer there, they cannot open this account as somebody as a second, a second account holder, so to say. So where does this money go? And how, does the legal heirs, how do they really get it? So that, I think, is an area that needs to be communicated to the people, because I know of people who have hesitated to put in money. They haven't married, they don't have a spouse, and they have hesitated to put in money in their single name. I think that's one of the areas that the finance ministry or the post office or the banks, they need to communicate that what the rules are clearly, and perhaps more people will be joining in that case.
Okay, that is extremely interesting, an important lacuna there that perhaps post offices, banks, RBI have to clarify on whether your spouse could be a beneficiary, so that people who are single, people who do not have a living existing spouse, can also utilize these saving schemes and save money. This is also an indicator, perhaps, Abhijit, of how people are increasingly depositing more and more in post offices, in FDs. We've seen an uptake in the past couple of quarters, essentially on the back of the fact that there is a better return now on FDs and on saving schemes, as opposed to investing in mutual funds, which could be more volatile, and therefore people who are traditionally conservative are looking at these saving schemes as long-term options.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Guaranteed return schemes are going to, work wonders in these countries, in these economies like India, where a lot of people are actually not very confident about their future, and a lot of people are above 50. They are looking for stable income. They cannot really trust their money, and moreover, substantial parts of it with the stock markets or mutual funds, who don't want any exposure of this volatility. And so these guaranteed return schemes, they will work. Look at all of them. Look at the rush for the FDs that the rising interest rates have garnered. And now people are actually, if you look at the discussions, common people, they are actually worried as to when the decline of the interest rate cycle is going to take place, which is perhaps the third or fourth quarter of this year. And so people are trying to put in as much money before that interest rate again starts to decline. Interestingly, we already have, two or three banks or four banks who are actually cutting down slightly on the interest rates on deposits which are within 3 years of maturity. This has happened over the last 10 days, and some of the banks which have done it include the PNB, the Bank of Baroda, I think the Axis Bank, and perhaps HDFC. I'm not very sure on the last name. So, people are actually trying to, if you offer them anything, assured return, they will just gobble it up. Shweta, there is no doubt on that.
Right. Right, Abhijit. My colleague Amit Ranjan is also with us here in the studio. This sounds well. This is positive news coming on the back of the fact that more and more women are now taking to Mahila Samman Savings Certificate, an upward trajectory, movement there, momentum growing, which means that about 3,666 crores have deposited in the first 2 months itself, Amit.
Yeah, and it's all good news. I would like, taking on from Abhijit, I would like to see the breakup of rural and urban, because the average deposit is 73,000, which is quite a lot of money, and I do not know if so much of that much of money rural women will have in their kitty, but we would like to look at that. The big thing is it is going to boost the National Small Savings Fund deposits, and it will ease the pressure on the government to borrow from the market to make up its fiscal deficit. So that is the big thing.
Right.
So with the money coming in into post office, which is a government, it will ease more pressure onto the government. And okay, carrying on from our yesterday's thing, quite a few things are falling into place for the Indian economy right
Absolutely, now. Quite a few things falling into place there. Krishna also joining us at this point in time. Krishna, good morning to you. We're discussing these two important savings schemes. One, of course, being the senior citizen scheme, where the limit was extended from 15 lakh to 30 lakh in this budget. Also, the Mahila Samman Savings Certificate, for the very first time, a new scheme introduced, which gives you an interest rate of an upward of approximately 7%, better than many FDs would give you. And what schemes there seeing greater uptake from people both in rural as well as urban India? And specifically, I think, alluding to Amit's point, it seems that there is also momentum not just from rural India but also from urban India.
Right. The fact of the matter is that the women's savings scheme, to be specific, you're talking about numbers and total amount of money put in. It has found 500,000 takers. 500,000 women have taken to this government's new Mahila Samman small savings scheme, and 500,000 women have come forward in the 1 year since it was presented in the budget. So that is a telling statistic of the fact that the government really identified a need over here, and also these are very important measures that can provide financial independence to women and financial empowerment to women. And that is very crucial. That, really is in a sense, re-engineering society and taking away the imbalance in society when it comes to holding wealth and saving wealth and using them for their future. That has been predominantly man's domain in this country. And it's measures like these. It's the ability for women that, there's a government-backed saving scheme. We can put money, it's safe, our money will not go anywhere. In fact, the returns are as good as what some of the other financial products in the markets are able to give. And hence, it makes women. Shweta, we live in a country where less than 20% of women are in the workforce. And in a situation where less than 20% of the women are there in the organized workforce, how will they take all the money that they earn from so many unorganized ways and make sure they build a safe financial future? You can keep talking about women's empowerment, Women's Day, etc., but it's moves like these that are really Women's Day, that are really, doing something for women in society, Shweta.
Right, Krishna, and of course, there is, as I mentioned, there's an increased uptake, as much as 500,000 women going for the Mahila Samman Certificate there, the scheme that is going to give them higher returns, perhaps going to be less volatile, and these are fixed interest savings schemes. So, of course, there is more trust there on these schemes, and good news there for the government also, because it's getting more and more money as opposed to borrowing it from the market. Abhijit wants to come in at this point in time. Abhijit?
Yeah. I have a small point to make. If you scan the Jan Dhan accounts, I think there are more women, holders of Jan Dhan accounts than men in our country. At least last year, I saw it in the RBI report. So if one can go through it, one will definitely find a very, very substantial share of women account holders in the Jan Dhan kitty.
This is, come to think of it, this is very interesting because as Krishna pointed out,
basics of banking for India as a whole, men, women, cities and villages. So that is one move. But this is very specific. You're talking about a financial product, a saving scheme. So many financial products out there. People are complaining about the fact that you can't trust financial products. Men are not able to trust financial products. And then now you have a saving scheme that is a sort of financial product that helps women do it. So I think it's path-breaking in that sense, that the kind of response it's got has justified the government's move completely and more.
Come to think of it, I do want to come in here at this point in time, and I sort of agree with Abhijit here, Krishna, because traditionally, even if there are less number of women in the workforce, traditionally women have been the savers. Traditionally, it's women who've saved, in small purses, under the bed, in the kitchen counters, in variety of places as they could find, and they have been the savers.
I fully agree with you.
Yes.
I fully agree with both you and Abhijit, but the fact of the matter is that this is not under the bed. This is not in a trunk.
Absolutely.
This is an official saving scheme backed by the government, and you see the response. That's what I'm talking about. There was latent potential. There was huge latent potential. Women are the savers. They take money and hide it inside, jars of rice and jars of sugar and salt and all the kitchen utensils possible, and etc., and underneath the bed and anywhere in the house. Did they have a government-backed saving scheme in today's day and age when every financial product is seemed flaky and markets are volatile? They would have bought gold. That's what they would do normally. The women would have taken the money and invested in gold. But now they have a government-backed saving scheme. It's sort of, this makes the women transact more. Shweta, that's where my focus is. When you have a saving scheme, you have to fill out a form, you have to transact, keep transacting, check on, the kind of interest that's been added to the amount of money that you've already put inside. This practice, this habit is what I'm focusing on. And I think this will lead eventually to greater financial empowerment and independence for women, is my limited point here. No question about the fact that they've been savers for centuries.
Absolutely.
In fact, they were the ones managing the money when the men were busy out making it.
Absolutely. Even as women have not been sort of equal participants and in equal beneficiaries of all the advancements that we've seen out there economically, and may not have a lot of knowledge as to what financial products are right to use. With traditional small saving schemes, it looks like women now have more trust in them and are going and getting themselves into the banking structure, into the formal banking structure. Augurs well, all in all, I think we can all agree that it augurs well for, development, gender development. It augurs well for economic empowerment of women at large. Yes,
agree
Amit.
to agree.
Again, that I'm stuck on that 73,000. If it is true that rural women are depositing that much, it is good news
this
that our rural economy is basically people have more money than we think that they have.
Okay, this is the annual figure that you're looking at.
The average deposit.
The average deposit.
I'm just stuck on that. So it's a quite a good figure.
Very interesting point of view there.